Hi, I'm Zach Kazan, managing editor at Worn & Wound, and it's the end of the year. We're in a reflective mood, and we're all kind of thinking about the watches that we admired and wore most this year. So we thought it'd be fun to go around and ask members of the team which watch they wore most in 2023. Let's dive in. To kick things off, the watch I wore most this year was my Archinaut Arc II Fordite. This is a watch that I picked up at the Wind-Up Watch Fair in San Francisco earlier this year, and I just really love it. It's extremely strange and unique. I just love the shape of the case and the way that it wears on the wrist. I find it incredibly comfortable. I really wore it all summer long. It's a brand that I think is worth really paying attention to. They're doing incredibly creative stuff, and this is by far my most worn watch this year.
Oh, hey. So my most worn watch this year is actually my Tudor Black Bay 54. I picked this up after seeing it at Watches and Wonders earlier this year. Was completely obsessed with it. It's definitely gotten a lot of wrist time this year.
So the watch I've worn the most this year is easily my Marathon General Purpose Mechanical. It's the watch I wear the most because in the morning when I wake up and it's pitch black, its tritium tubes are blazing and it's easy to spot, strap on the wrist. It usually stays with me for a run or a bike ride. It's the one I've worn the most because it's the easiest to find in the morning.
That's a good question, but it doesn't feel fair to say since I'm not wearing a watch today. But don't tell them.
Wow. What did I wear the most? Well, there was a lot of transition going on with my collection this year, but for me, it has to be the Breitling Chronomat. Picked it up this year. It's honestly one of my favorites in my collection. Built like a tank, and yeah, got a lot of wear this year.
The watch I've worn most this year is my Hamilton Khaki Navy GMT. What I really like about it is the second time zone looks a little wacky. It's in a little window, and this watch is indestructible. I've worn it in the desert, I've worn it on the water, and when you're traveling, you want something that you know isn't gonna break, and this is it.
All right, I think the watch I've worn the most this year is my Baltic Bicompax. I picked this up at the Wind-Up Watch Fair in Chicago, and I have barely worn anything else. It's got the great proportions, good vintage styling, silver dial with blue steeled hands, and a 30-minute chronograph register that is mildly useful, but it just checks all the boxes for me, and it's my most worn watch of the year.
This has been my first year working at Worn & Wound, and we've just gotten to tell and hear so many stories about what watches mean to people. In October of this year, my grandpa sadly passed away, but I was able to receive his Seiko that he wore every day of his life, and so it's been very special to keep it on my wrist, and having a French date complication is just a funny extra twist that always makes me think of him and the good times we shared. So this is definitely my most worn watch of 2023.
My most worn watch of 2023 is definitely my Rolex Baby Oyster Perpetual. I picked this up in Chicago at the Wind-Up Watch Fair in 2022, and it's been my go-to watch ever since. I love this small case size, and it's super versatile. I can dress it up, dress it down. You're gonna need your zoom lens to see this certainly, but bigger is not always better.
Hey, so my most worn watch this year is my trusty Omega Speedmaster. I got this service kind of recently, and I popped a new bracelet on it from the newer reference. Just feels right. It's comfortable, it's there. It's like the first thing I reach for pretty much every day. So definitely by a long shot, the Omega Speedmaster.
So my most worn watch of the year is probably my Apple Watch, which I realize is kind of a boring answer. So my most worn non-Apple Watch is my Rolex GMT Master 2. I just find it incredibly easy to wear. It wears super nice on the wrist. It's obviously a really beautiful watch. I honestly wear it more than I thought I would. So yeah, my GMT Master 2.
So my most worn watch is really two watches because I couldn't quite decide which one I've worn the most. First one is the Tudor Black Bay 54. Got this over the summer, not long after it came out, and it has just been in regular rotation since then. Incredibly comfortable, obviously very attractive, and a nicely tough 37 millimeters for the win. The other watch conveniently in my pocket is the Christopher Ward C1 Bel Canto. Acquired this at the end of last year when these first came out. This is a watch that has been in rotation several times a week. Really a unique watch in my collection because of the dial, because of the complication, and yeah, it's just a very charismatic watch.
And those are the watches worn most by members of the Worn and Wound team in 2023. Why don't you let us know what you wore most in 2023 in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. And Happy New Year!